I don't know too much about the animation scene in France, and after doing some research in preparation for this video, it's a bit of a shame that I don't know as much as I feel I should, because they have one of the longest histories of animation compared to other parts of the world. I mean, for both film and animation, a lot of the developments and ideas that we take for granted, both in animation and film as a medium, were developed in France. I mean, you've got the cameras made by the Lumiere brothers, and then you've got a lot of the principle of animation that we still use today being developed even as far back as the 19th century. So I don't know as much about French animation as I feel that I should, especially after having seen this film. But as for this film, Avril et le Truc, imagine if Hergé, the creator of Tintin, and Hayao Miyazaki came together to adapt a Jules Verne novel that was being adapted by Robert Kirkman. This is the film you would probably get. I was excited for this film going in because, well, compared to some of the other samplings of animation that I had been seeing lately, it was more or less a breath of fresh air. One, it was a straightforward adventure. Two, it had a very unique, very imaginative aesthetic. And three, this is the first time I've actually seen a Western animated film embrace the steampunk aesthetic, which is something that I've only really seen, and keep in mind my field of experience is very limited, but I've only really seen steampunk employed in things like video games and anime. As the film begins, you're introduced to an alternate history that explains that the Second French Empire flourished, Napoleon IV didn't get killed, but scientists started disappearing left and right, and so what few remain were basically contracted to work for the French Empire, and thus the world was stuck in the age of steam, and basically mining whatever resources could be burned to power these steam engines. And this sets the stage for a fully realized world with a lot of imaginative designs, and it's all very, very smoothly animated. The best comparison I have for the visual aesthetic and style of this film is that it's kind of somewhere between the Tintin comics and the Professor Layton series, as it kind of embraces this neo-Victorian style that is pretty common for a lot of steampunk stories. However, this film avoids making the mistake of over-designing their machines. I mean, all of the machinery we do see, although it's very imaginatively designed, is very practical and simplistic, as it kind of has a bit of that Miyazaki vibe, and you can even see some influences from films like Howl's Moving Castle. As for the story, this is one of those films where it may feel long, but it isn't actually as long as it feels. Now, I don't mean that in a bad sense, it's just more that the film is constantly moving. There's a lot of locations, there's a lot of ground that our characters cover, and so there are a few moments where you're just kind of sitting there thinking, wow, this is still going, how could this possibly be ending, because there's obviously still more story to go. And while the conclusion is okay, it's satisfying, the film does kind of go off the rails towards the end, and that's the most that I can say without giving away plot-crucial details. Overall, this is an enjoyable film that's sure to please any fan of steampunk and any fan of animation. It's beautifully animated, the characters are well written and well designed, and while the story gets a little bit weird towards the end, I ultimately had fun while watching. If you're a fan of stuff like Howl's Moving Castle, Tintin, and I'm talking the Tintin comics, and that Spielberg film if you want to count that, or if you're also a fan of stuff like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or Journey to the Center of the Earth. Basically, if you're a fan of the works of Jules Verne, I can't recommend this film highly enough because it's like a nice combination of those three things, like a Miyazaki film, it's like a Tintin film, and it's like a nice love letter to the works of Jules Verne. So really, this is a good film. If you get the chance to see it, I highly recommend it. All of that said, Avril et le Truc, or April and the Extraordinary World, gets a 4.5 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.